see if I get this right. Ariel Helwani?
Helwani.
Helwani.
Yeah.
Thank you for correcting me, big guy. We're here at the weigh-in with Tank Davis and Cruz. Who you got in this fight and why?
And I think I got, first off, great to be here. I think I got Gervonta Davis. I think he's going to win via stoppage.
Early?
You know what? Here's why I think it could end early. Here's why I think it could end under 5 rounds. Because historically, Tank Davis starts a little slow, but he's got the power. We all know that. I think it's just kind of his doing to start slow. I think Cruz is going to try to capitalize off of that, and I think he's going to try to bring the fight to him and, that Mexican style, come forward. He's got great power. He's relentless. He's fearless. And I think Tank Davis is a great counterpuncher, and I think that he might take advantage of that and catch him.
Right.
I could be wrong, but ultimately, as we saw last weekend with George Kambosos, you can't look past anyone. I think Cruz is a more formidable opponent than Rolly Romero was. It's a different kind of vibe between them. It's not as personal. This man was supposed to be on the undercard, so he's ready to go. Like, a lot has been made of the fact that he's taking this fight on short notice. Obviously, he's preparing for someone different other than Tank Davis, but still, he was fit. It wasn't like he was taken off the couch.
Right.
So I think he'll bring, the action, and I think that Tank might catch him and finish early.
So you said something there very intriguing. You said you think he's a better opponent than Rolly Romero.
Yeah.
Why do you think, being the candidates we can, why do you think Rolly was pulled from this fight?
Oh, well, I think we all know why he was pulled from the fight. I think there were some sexual assault allegations levied against him, which are still pending at the moment. But I think when you have a situation like that brewing, I think everyone involved made the right call. And, historically, like I said, late replacement doesn't usually mean more interesting fight, and I think you can make a case, and I'm not being paid to say this, I'm just here moonlighting, you can make a case that this is a more interesting fight. The dynamic between Rolly and Gervonta made for good hype leading up to it. The face-off was fun, and he's like a enigmatic character, but I think that you can make that case. So we'll see what happens with them. Maybe they run it back at some point.
This wouldn't have been the first time though we've seen a fighter get in there with some allegations behind them. That's happened in the past. That's not unheard of.
Sure.
And so I just find it kind of tricky why he was pulled from the fight. Nonetheless, Crawford Porter last week. Well, I guess that was 2 weeks ago now, right?
Yeah.
What did you see in that fight? Did you think that was an early stoppage in that fight?
Nah, I didn't think it was an early stoppage. I mean, Crawford is so good. Much respect to Porter, and respect to him for, calling it a day. Just kind of seeing like, hey, I can't beat the top guys. It's time to walk away. I understand why some people thought that maybe it was a little bit early, but I think it was elementary at that point. Really impressed with Crawford. Really curious to see what he does next in terms of, he said he was done with Top Rank. I think that's super interesting.
Yeah.
And, whomever he goes with, can we finally get that fight? That's, the fight that we all want to see is Spence versus Crawford, right?
Yeah,
Spence was there. He left right after. Yeah. But I think that's, we need to get to a point, and I know this has been said a gazillion times, but I feel like boxing is moving in the right direction where the biggest fights are being made. Look at 135. People want to see Tank versus Haney. People want to see now Kambosos fight these top guys. People want to see Ryan Garcia fight these top guys. Lomachenko, Lopez, that was great last year. So people want to see that, and I think people want to see Crawford Spence, and maybe leaving Top Rank is what needed to happen for that fight to happen. Who knows? We're about to find out. I'd love to see it next. I want to see it next. If Spence is ready to go, I'd love to see it next.
What's your thoughts on the eye? 1 week I hear during the Canelo fight, the week of the Canelo fight, I was hearing that eye injury is a career-threatening injury.
Yeah, it's no joke.
The week of Crawford Porter, I was hearing that eye injury wasn't so bad, and he's ready to go. What do you know about that?
I mean, you can't mess with the eye, especially in boxing, especially in combat. It doesn't matter if it's MMA or boxing. That can change the course of your life. I mean, there's a very famous MMA fighter named Michael Bisping who literally doesn't have an eye because he fought with a torn retina. So all the injuries are different, but I mean, there's a case to be made that Spence will never be the same. There's a case to be made. This man has come from a lot, right? He's come back from a lot, I should say. The car crash and all that. So I'm no insider in his camp. I don't know, but if he is good to go, I'd love to see that fight sooner rather than later.
So you'd be a great person, a great candidate to ask. You have some of the MMA experience where you see that they're putting the best fighters up.
Yeah.
The best fighters are fighting each other. when can boxing, and do you want to throw your hat in the ring, when can boxing get to this commission where they have bringing all the different promoters together, so there can be one welterweight champion, there can be one heavyweight champion, there can be, and we can see boxing can kind of get on a streamline, on a path similar to MMA,
sure,
or similar to UFC.
Are you saying that you want me to be the commissioner of boxing? Is that what you're implying?
I'm saying you throw your hat in. You throw your hat in. I don't know who's going to argue with that.
I mean, I would.
You got that experience.
I would run circles around all these jabrones.
Exactly my point. That's what I'm asking you.
Listen, MMA is great that the best fight the best within the UFC, although honestly sometimes the best aren't fighting the best within the UFC. There's a lot of squatting going on there. However, they're not making the same kind of money that the boxers are. So because of the fragmentation and the power in which the boxers have, I know it's not great for the fans, but I would actually vote for the boxing system over the MMA system. Because I can tell you, the Tank Davises, the Devin Haney's in the sport of MMA aren't making anywhere near what the Tank Davises and the Devin Haney's are in the sport of boxing.
Okay.
I'm all for the fighters making what they want.
That's
and
fair.
If it doesn't make the fans happy because you don't get to see your favorites fight each other on a Saturday, well, don't blame the boxers, blame the promoters. And so the promoters are the ones ultimately in charge of making these deals, the managers, all that. And so, yes, it's nice to see the best fight the best, but ultimately, like, this is such a crazy sport. Look at Errol Spence. I'm more in favor of the boxers and the fighters making the most amount of money rather than the best fighting the best. That's just me.
And that makes sense. And I don't say giving you anointing you as now commissioner.
No.
Now you're taking money out of the boxer's pocket. That's not really what I'm getting at. But
No,
I understand what you're saying.
There's always
is
a lot
different
of talk in boxing, like, oh, it should be like the UFC. It should be like the MMA. Be like MMA. Why? Do you want? If you truly love boxing, if you truly love the fighters, do you want your favorites not to make money? Do you want your favorites not to be able to have sponsors? Do you want your favorites not to have, a say in their promotion? You don't want that.
No. But we want to see Pacquiao Mayweather 5 years before it actually
That's
happened.
just the politics of the fight game.
Okay.
It happens. But guess what? Even in the fight game, even in MMA, the best sometimes don't fight the best. There's politics there. It's a lot more common, obviously, and it's a lot cleaner. But it's not all hunky-dory over there either.
Okay, gotcha. So some of you mentioned Spence Crawford is one of the better fights that you want to see.
Yeah.
What do you want to see happen with a Caleb Plant? Do you want to see a David Benavidez? Do you want to see him fight Caleb Plant, or would you rather see him fight Canelo? What do you want to see? Benavidez, yes.
I'd love to see the Canelo fight. I think Caleb's stock didn't drop all that much in that loss. I mean, he stood there with Canelo. Some people were saying I was a little premature. I didn't agree with that either. But I think you stand there toe to toe. We just spoke to him before. He said he was really unhappy with his performance. I mean, Canelo is that damn good. So I would be down to see Canelo versus Benavidez. I'd be down to see Caleb versus Benavidez. There's options. I mean, obviously Canelo, with the way in which he fluctuates, he's got the world at his fingertips and he can pretty much do whatever the hell he wants. But I think that's one of the big stories going into 2022. What's Canelo going to do? Where's his future? Where's his weight class? There's so many good fights on the horizon in 2022. I think 2022 could be a really great year for boxing with all the platforms that are covering boxing now, like showing the events with Showtime and DAZN and ESPN Plus and ESPN obviously. And I think a lot of us thought that when HBO got out of the game, it might be a little bit weird. I don't think that's the case at all. One fight that I'd love to see is Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano.
Wow. Yeah.
How do we, in the past, we've never seen fights like that in women's boxing. So, hopefully Crawford Spence we get to see as well. Hopefully some of these 135ers fight each other. The top dudes who are fighting as of late. Kambosos is a big star now.
Right.
We'll see who goes over there. They're talking about 80,000 people in Australia. There's a lot to like. Of course, are we going to see Usyk against Tyson Fury? What's next for Anthony Joshua? I could go on and on.
Yeah.
Boxing's great right now.
We want to hear it. Where can the people find you?
You can find me wherever you want. Instagram, Twitter, Ariel Helwani. I do a few shows all over the place. But I appreciate you having me. Much respect. And I hope you guys enjoy the fight tomorrow.
No, thank you for your time, man.
Thanks, man.